webinar type thing so we can watch it again later.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect you guys all to watch it nonstop. Instead of watching sports, you're going to watch me all day. All right?
Okay.
All right. So so we are recording. All right, perfect. So if you guys do have any questions at all, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So anyone willing to be my guinea pig today?
Charles. Just
Charles.
Yes, let's go
right.
with Charles here.
There's Charles. There we go. All right, beautiful. So with conversion's brilliant. I have a lot of fun working here. And in my opinion, conversion's the best real estate CRM out there. And I don't say that just because I work here, but because I've seen over the last 10 years all of the other systems. And a lot of the other systems are really heavily depending on you logging in. So if you don't log in, a lot of these other systems don't work. So one of the reasons why Rich gave you such a dangerous, powerful tool is because he understands that you don't have all day to watch Lead TV. So you can't sit behind your computer, nor do you have the patience to log in every single day. So what I am going to discuss here today is if you do have some time and you only have 5 minutes, for example, to log on, what can you do with conversion? And so just to cover really some housekeeping stuff, with conversion, you want to use Google Chrome. So don't use Firefox, don't use Internet Explorer, don't use Safari. You can use those, however, there's certain features that will only work with using Google Chrome. Second is before you do log into conversion, just make sure if you do have like a personal Gmail address that you sign out of any other accounts prior to logging into conversion. And then lastly, everything I show you here today, you can also have access to right on your cell phone. So we do have a mobile app. It's free. Everything we're covering today, you can do on your iPhone or your Android. So download conversion onto your cell phone if you don't already have it. All right, now, in regards to the dashboard itself, majority of our clients, they take more of a really a reactive approach. Hey, I'm going to wait for conversion to tell me to do something. And so some of the basics with the system itself. So when you log in, you're going to find your dashboard, and it's going to take you to the screen. So all basic things pop up right here. And then I always tell agents, pay attention to red. And so within the system, you'll notice we try and highlight it and make your job really, really easy. If you have a call to make, conversion will tell you, hey, you need to call this lead, and this is why. So you can see all notifications at the top. You're going to notice you can see how many people have read your blog. You can see one of our clients has 7,000 views to their particular blog. You can see what calls conversion is scheduled. Now, we're going to talk about this a little bit further here in just a few minutes, but you can schedule a call, meaning let's say you get a new lead today and you get them on the horn and they say, hey, you know what, I'm on vacation, for the rest of the month. Call me next month. You can schedule a call and tell conversion, hey, remind me to call Charles on this time and this day. The other thing is you can also just wait for conversion to tell you to call that lead. And so maybe that lead did a house 15 times, and conversion is going to queue up a call and say, hey, Charles, call Chris. He looked at this house 15 times. So the outbound calls, we'll get into that when we get into a lead. And then you can see your emails. You can see who's live on the website. And then you can also see any new notifications. So Charles has been on his game today. Nice job, Charles. You've already checked all these notifications, but you can see all of the different triggers that conversion said about the specific lead. So any questions so far?
So far, so good.
Beautiful. So some other basics here on the screen. You're going to notice also, as I mentioned, pay attention to red. So you've got the quick actions menu. You can add a lead into the system. You can do a mass text. You can do a mass email. You can really have some fun within the system here. So some other quick actions, you've got some other notifications in the middle of the screen. You can see any new leads. You can see recently active leads. And actually, let me click. I'm going to choose a different agent here real quick. Becky, I'm going to pick on you here. All right, there we go. So you can see any new leads. You can see recently active leads. You can see who the hottest leads are that you have in your system. You can also see any missed calls. So over the course of the month, you're going to see all your missed calls in one happy place. Now, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Becky, because a lot of agents, they make their calls, but they forget to mark something in conversion. So she might have called Crisscross, which is a fantastic name, by the way, but maybe she forgot to mark it in the system itself. So we'll cover that here in a few seconds. And then new text. You can see any new text that have come through conversion, and then upcoming reminders. Now, this is a feature a lot of our agents, right out of the gate, they don't know that they have, but reminders is a way for you to really automate your life within conversion. I'm a big fan of that feature too. So some other basics, I'm not going to really cover them, but if you scroll down, you can see Craigslist post, you can see who's been chatting on the site, you can see your calendar, you can see conversions calendars, and any system changes that we've made. So just some really, really basics. I ran through that pretty quickly on purpose, but any questions there in regards to just the overall dashboard?
I'll have to say so far so good, but.
All right, perfect. So I'll keep, good stuff. So moving along here, where you guys are going to spend the majority of your life, though, is going to be probably in the active lead section. So there's a few different lead statuses I want to talk to you guys about. So you've got active leads, you've got clients, you've got past clients, and then you've got inactive leads and then unsubscribed leads. So what's the difference between these? So an active lead, pretty self-explanatory, right? It's a lead right now. They're on conversion. They're searching for property. We're sending them listings. Conversion's also sending smart or our emails to that lead. And, you know, they're in full prospect mode right now. So maybe you haven't engaged them in a conversation and Conversion's trying to do that for you. You also have clients. Now, a client, that is a conversion client. That's not your personal clients. So what a client is in conversion is at some point, one of these leads, you go out, you show them property. At some point, you're going to want to tell conversion, hey, back off of this lead. I'm out showing Charles property. And so at some point, you're going to tell conversion, hey, stop sending, you know, the drip emails to this lead. The only thing that we send to a client are new listings via email. So I'll say that again here. The only thing we send to clients are new listings via email. That's it. So you're telling conversion you've got that. Now, past clients, someone signs in the dotted line, they are now a past client. So we don't send them anything. However, some of our clients, you know, they'll send like a newsletter or they'll send like a quarterly drip. You can set that up in the system, but past clients. You've got inactive leads here at the bottom. Now, I always tell agents to pay attention to inactive. So what an inactive lead is in conversion, and Becky, you've got 44 of them, so you'll want to pay attention here. But an inactive lead is someone who has not visited the website in 90 days. That doesn't mean that they're not a buyer. It just means they haven't come back to the site in 90 days. And a lot of times, the reason they're inactive is maybe we forgot to turn on property alerts. So you'll notice probably about 20 or 30 of these people don't have property alerts. So that's something I'd strongly encourage you guys to do, is look at these inactive leads, and we'll take a look at how to set someone up for property alerts in just a moment as well. Unsubscribed leads. This is the last different category that we have. These are people who say, hey, take me off your list, talk to the hand because the face don't want to hear it. Unsubscribed leads, that's really the only way that you can remove someone from conversion. We do not send anything to unsubscribed. Those people are considered a dead lead to us. So those are the different lead statuses. And so we'll go into each one of them here. And so if we take a look at active leads, once again, these are people who conversion is trying to engage. We're sending drip email and property alerts to. And so I always like to keep conversion really, really simple. And so anytime that you get a new lead, and this is something for any agents taking notes, I want you to write down two things. One, you need to make sure that that new lead is set up on property alerts properly. Make sure they're getting new listings sent to them every day. Second, you want to schedule your first or your next call with that specific lead. So anytime that you get a new lead, those are the two things that you want to do. So we'll talk about leads that don't have a phone number. But for now, I want to point out something to you guys. You're going to notice as you look, all of these different columns, you can sort on these columns. So if you click on the phone, Conversion's going to put all your leads that have a phone number. And it looks like every single one of your leads except one have a phone number. So that's great. So if you guys wanted to send out like a mass text this morning, you could simply do that within Conversion. You could check the little box, and then you scroll to the bottom, say, happy Monday, cold weekend, eh? So you could say whatever you want to these leads. Talk about a new listing, talk about an open house that you have coming up, or on our next call, I'm also going to talk to you guys about some good communications and ways to engage your leads once you have them in the system. Next column over is property alerts. This is, in my opinion, the most important feature on any real estate website. If people are not receiving property alerts, they are not going to come back to the website. And so for every agent, as soon as we get off this phone call, I want you to go into your active leads and make sure all of your active leads have property alerts. So Becky, it looks like you have probably 15 or 20 that are not signed up for property alerts for whatever reason, but I want to make sure that you guys have this as a priority. And so all I did was I just clicked on this little envelope, and if they have an envelope, that means Tammy's receiving new listings via email. So that, in my opinion, that's the biggest feature. I don't want you guys to miss out on that.
Can you explain
who has an invalid?
Chris?
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you explain the lead thing a little more clearly? As far as that little envelope, what exactly are they getting? What exactly do we need to do so that they are getting it? More details.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So listing alerts. So right now, you guys log into your MLS and say, hey, I want to send Tammy properties in Phoenix between 6 and 8 million, or whatever the price range is. And then what Conversion does is every day we send them any new listings that come on the market via email. So that's what a listing alert is in Conversion's mind. So we'll get into a lead here, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So for all of these leads that do not have property alerts, we want to make sure Leslie, I would say by the latest end of business today, you have Leslie signed up for property alerts. And we can even see what should we sign her up for.
But how do we sign them up for property alerts?
Yeah, they're tied to our MLS.
Chris, is that leads thing tied to the MLS?
No.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
It is.
Yeah, but you create
Yep. So people can search the entire MLS on your Conversion site.
Okay. So you'll show us how to set up property alerts.
Yep. We'll take exactly, and that's one of the biggest things that you guys need to all be doing on a daily basis, and get comfortable with it. It's the same way that you guys do on a daily basis with your leads and prospects that you're already working with. So some other columns that you can sort. If you want to say, hey, I want to look at who's viewed the most property on my website, you can see Anthony's looked at 54 properties, and you can see what. You can filter it by price range. You can filter it by location. You can also see over here on the right, the last time Conversion has texted your lead or you've texted that lead. Now, one feature you guys, and this is typical as well, so I'm not picking on you again, Becky, but you can schedule your next call. And so you want to make sure that you're scheduling your next call. So if you think about planning your day out, if you wanted to come in and take a look, hey, what calls do I have scheduled here this week? I'm going out of town, for Labor Day weekend, so I want to make sure I'm on top of my calls before I leave. You can come into Conversion, and in one happy list, you can see all your scheduled calls and for who. So we'll get into that here. So let's go ahead and dive in, and I'm going to just pick a lead here. So let's take a look at Dave. Dave doesn't have a phone number. All right, so this is your lead TV page here. And so if we take a look at Dave, some basic information that we know. So right when you pull a lead up, there's this little paragraph here. This is a Cliff Notes version of what's going on with this lead. Conversion, the longer a lead is on the system, the more information it's going to tell you. So Dave's looked at 7 properties, mostly single family in Gilbert. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths for around $357. He first signed up in July and was active this month. He was generated by visiting your subdomain. So that means Becky, she probably did some marketing and got him to visit her website. So good job on that. You can also see here on the right-hand side, you can see if he's subscribed. So what does that mean? That means he's getting phone, text, and email alerts, including listing alerts from conversion. That's good. You want people to be subscribed. Now, we talked about the client status here just a minute ago, right? And so let's say that she got Dave on the phone and she schedules an appointment, and her and Dave, are having a listing appointment tomorrow. What she would want to do is she would want to come over here and say, yes, I'm working with this lead. Now, you'll notice it tells you here, clicking this link will mark this lead as a client. So when you do that, the only thing, once again, we send clients are new listings via email. So that'll change Dave over to what we call a client status. So he won't be on active leads anymore, but now he'll be in a client section. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So some other things here is you can see if they viewed any popular properties. So maybe that lead looked at 200 houses. You can see if they saved or bookmarked any houses. You'll see conversions recommending a conversation based on certain behavior. And then you can see notifications. So what a notification is conversions watching this buyer, and we threw up a red flag and said, hey, Becky, you need to pay attention to this lead because X happened. So some good information there. Any questions so far? How are we doing on, are we doing good as far as the speed and everything? Am I going too fast, too slow?
You still haven't shown us how to set up the, what do they call it, the property alerts. You still haven't shown us how to set up property alerts.
Yep, we're getting there here. So I'm going to go through each one of these tabs, but I promise we will. All right, so someone like Dave, for example, if you look over here at Dave, you notice how it pulls up his photo here? This is actually pulled from when we did some research on this lead. So probably from his Facebook profile. But if you take a look, you can see he's set up for property alerts. You can see that by default, Rich, you're sending the conversion broker mandated drip email. It looks like he's gotten those emails. Becky's never called him. You can see 0 phone calls, and it doesn't look like any text either. You can see conversion has marked him not as a seller, but he does use his mobile phone. What does that mean? So 70% of traffic that comes to conversion is people searching on their cell phone or on their tablet. So if you think about that, that is huge. People are on their cell phones shopping real estate all day, every day. And then you can see also there's a little money sign. It looks like this lead you've also shared with your lender, Caesar. So some good information that we see here on this particular lead. Now, once again, I told you guys to pay attention to red. So there's some quick things that you guys can do, but you'll also notice what would you like to do. So you can send this lead an email. You can change the status. You can unsubscribe that lead. But this is some fun stuff here. So any leads that you have, maybe you want to do some extra research on them. Maybe you've tried calling or emailing this guy 30 times and he's never responded. So maybe now you want to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to look this lead up and I'm going to do some intel and see what I can find out about this lead. So with one click, you'll notice conversion will do some research on these leads. So it'll do a, can you guys still see my screen here?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Looks like the recording's slowing down a little bit. So you can see also, look at this. It pulled up and it found a phone number for him. It looks like he's an account executive at EC Suite. So we could copy his phone number and we could bring him right into the system if we wanted to. You can take a look and see if he has a Facebook profile. Doesn't look like he does under that email address. We can see his LinkedIn profile. And so it looks like this is him here. I'm in San Diego, so it's going to suggest people closer to me, but that looks like the same guy, right? So he's an inside sales manager. He's good on the phone. So bring your A game when you call this guy. But you've got a phone number for him now. and you can see what he does. So I always have agents that they're hesitant. You know, they're working with $1 million buyer, but then they look on their LinkedIn profile and say, oh, okay, this guy's a CEO of a company, so he's probably pretty busy. I shouldn't take it personal. So all of these websites, though, I want you guys to get comfortable with them. And, you know, I always have to warn agents because there's always one creepy realtor in the room. But you don't want to be the agent that picks up the phone and calls Dave and said, hey, Dave, I see that you've been at this company for 4 months and, 3 weeks, and your wife works at T-Mobile and you have 6 kids. But you want to use this as a kind of a way to build some rapport. So picking up the phone and calling these particular leads. Hey, Dave, just wanted to reach out. I've been sending you property in Phoenix. And then in the back of your mind, you know what they're doing. You know if you're working with an out-of-area buyer. Because you guys in that market, you get a lot of snowbirds, right? People like myself who were sick of the cold and had to move out west. So you're going to talk to me differently knowing my situation a little bit versus having no idea on my scenario. And it's a great way to build rapport as well. So, yeah, someone like Dave, I'm going to copy his phone number in for you, Becky, because I like you. And so I'm just going to simply update his phone number. Now he's got a phone number in the system. So use these websites. And once again, how I found those is when I clicked on a lead, I just clicked on what would you like to do, and then you can use all of these different websites. So that's all I did. I just clicked through them one by one. Pretty cool though, right? I just got a phone number for this lead. Any questions?
Nope.
Awesome. So next section over here is profile. So some basic contact information. You guys have it all here. Pretty self-explanatory, but if you ever need to update someone's name, email address, phone number, that type of thing. Now, activity. You can see everything that this lead has looked at, the time and day. And if you ever see something here with a little X through it, that means that property is no longer on the market. So looks like he's only looked at, 7 properties. So I'd be curious how many listings we're actually sending him. So that gets to the good part here, which is the alerts. So if you take a look at alerts, this is what the property alerts are. So this is how you get people to start sending people new listings via email. And so when you click into the alert section, you're going to notice you can choose, same way that you guys do, hey, it's a townhouse, no, it's multifamily, commercial. You can choose options. So you can say, hey, I want to send him, no foreclosures, or he told me that, houses with a pool are a big deal. So these are all pulled from your MLS. So if you guys ever see something that's not on your MLS, just let us know. But otherwise, you can set everyone up the same way that you do in your MLS. You can click on area and tell conversion, hey, I want to target this specific zip code or this specific neighborhood or county or, high school, middle school, elementary school. And so for this lead right now, Dave, he's just getting property alerts sent to him in Gilbert. And then if we scroll down, it looks like we're sending him 4-bedroom, 2-bath between 300 and 440. Keep scrolling down, you'll see bedrooms, bath, square footage, and all of that information there. Now, one thing I want to point out to you guys is you guys are the area experts. And so I have a lot of agents that live in a lot of fear. If they ever send someone something that they're not interested in, the world's going to collide and fall apart. But anytime anyone's looking at something in Gilbert, for example, don't be afraid to send them listings that are near Gilbert as well. And so I have agents that, for this particular lead, they might add Chandler in here because they know that Chandler's a neighboring, area that might have more listings. Or maybe they'll send it in Queen Creek or Chandler Heights or something like that. So don't be afraid to open up their search a little bit because conversion's going to do a lot of the dirty work and send the listings, but it's just a great way to get more opportunity and more listings in front of these people. Not to mention in your guys' market, properties are going like hotcakes right now, right?
Right.
Yep. So as soon as you update that, just make sure you click this green button for update. And as soon as you do, conversion's going to start sending new listings via email to this Dave. And so for any agents that are curious what conversion's sending, you'll notice that there's something right below where it says Alert 1. It says Alert 1 results. And if you click on that, this is everything that we're sending this lead. So you can actually take a look at all the houses. If you even want to click on one, it'll pull it up in the MLS, and you got a just listed property.
Let me ask you
So
this,
that is
Chris.
property list.
Chris,
Yeah, go ahead.
2 questions. Number one, is there a limit as to the number of search results that can be, emailed in these property alerts?
There's not. No. So, I mean, keep in mind that, with these leads, you do want to narrow it down just a little bit. So, I mean, if people are getting 600 listings every day, maybe you've got way too many areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would usually, and that's the other thing too, is what do you send someone if they've never looked at any houses on your site? So what areas are you guys targeting or your office located in? So, put in Gilbert, put in Chandler, put in Phoenix, put in Mesa, all these other areas for people to start receiving new listings from.
Let me ask you this. Is there a way in the system for us to know what the number of results were? I mean, my personal preference is to be more than 50 at a time. So how would I know, looking at this, how many search results I'm sending out to see if I need to narrow down my search criteria?
Yeah, so if you click on this alerts tab, you can see today, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, it looks like a handful of properties have come on the market in the last 24 hours. So that gives you a good idea. But keep in mind, this fluctuates with the market as well. So I think with what you set up there, it was pretty good. It's not incredibly narrow, but it's good enough. Give you an example of something too specific is, saying like 435 to 440. That would be way too narrow, and they're only going to get a property sent to them probably once a month.
Second question was...
So keep it a little more narrow.
Chris, my second question was, let's say these properties are emailed out to Dave, and he likes one. He clicks on. How do we find out that he just, clicked on something that he may be interested in? What kind of alert do we get? Do we get text, an email, a phone call? What goes on there?
Yeah, so all of those will be in the activity section. So these are all of those that he's clicked on from the emails. So you've sent him a lot of listings, but the only ones that have piqued his interest are these 7 here. And so if you hover your mouse over, go ahead.
Chris, so on these 4 here that it shows that Dave was interested, what kind of alert went to Becky so that she could be time is of the essence and contact him right away when he said, I like this property? In my opinion, she should be making a phone call to him and say, hey, I see you like that property. What day and time would you like to go take a look at it? So what kind of alert does Becky know? Does she have to log in to find out he likes something? Or does she get an immediate alert to let her know somebody's logged in and just indicated they liked a certain property?
Yeah, so good question. So, I mean, we don't send an alert for any time anyone looks at a property. Otherwise, we'd absolutely drill you guys with emails. But when someone saves a property, for example, it will notify her. Someone bookmarks a certain listing. All of that's tracked. But you can also, when you're in the active lead section, you can just simply come in and you can do a filter and say, hey, I want to see who viewed my property, so far today. Okay, so it looks like this lead, he's been on the website today, and I know that because it tells me. The other thing, too, to answer your question is there's an activity stream, and this is going to be literally like a minute by minute. You can see what property people have looked at. It's all in one happy place for you.
All right, Chris, one of the things you just said was that Becky will be notified. How is she notified?
She'll get an email sent to her, and then also here in the dashboard, there'll be a notification. If it's something like, she scheduled a showing or they saved the property, it'll be right here in her dashboard. So you'll see, hey, this lead scheduled a showing, and it'll be big in red if it's something important.
All right. So let me ask you this then. So this screen you're on, this dashboard screen you're on right now, this is where it would show up if somebody said, hey, I want to see a property. Is this where it would show up?
Exactly.
Okay. And which of these
absolutely
6 icons, which one would it be? The red one, I assume? You have 3 calls to make
it would be red. Yep. The most urgent ones are always going to be in red. So, scheduled a showing, someone asked a question about a property. You guys are always going to be notified of that. But that's why I always encourage agents just log into your dashboard every day. And I mean, it doesn't take an hour. You can just simply click on dashboard and conversion will tell you, oh, okay, you've got 3 new leads. So what I need to do if I was Becky is I need to get in here and make sure that all 3 of these leads are set up on property alerts. As soon as I do that, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. And then after I have a phone call made to them, then I'm going to do my next step in the day, and that's schedule my next call. And so let me get back into Dave here. And, but yeah, the activity stream, I think is going to be something that you guys will like, because it's literally updated second by second. So if someone's on your website, you can see literally every single house that they're looking at. And it'll even tell you how many times they viewed a certain property. So you'll notice this lead, for example, she's viewed this house 4 times. And the reason I know that is because it says 4 next to it. You see that?
In the last 22 hours, she looked at it 4 times. Or she looked at it 22 hours ago. Is that what it's telling us?
She looked at it 22 hours ago. And
okay.
Over the course of the time she's been on the site, she's looked at that property a total of 4 times.
Okay.
Yep, so some good information there. So you guys have a lot of data at your fingertips. It's just knowing really what to look for. So yeah, that's the property alerts tab. Now files, this is kind of like Dropbox, but it's Google Drive. So the only thing I'll say about this is the leads don't see this. This is just for you and for your lender, or if maybe you want to put in a PDF and an inspection or something, you can put that right here. Now the notes is pretty self-explanatory. However, I do want to talk about this. And so anytime that you make a phone call, you want to put a note on that, right? So, hey, I left a voicemail. Hey, I sent them an email too. So you just click on this green button for new note. And you can tell conversion, left voicemail on 8/29 at 10:51 a.m. We'll follow up again in 2 weeks. But then you can set a reminder up in the system itself. So you can tell conversion, hey, remind me to call this lead again in 2 weeks. And when you do that, that reminder is going to pop up that, oh, you've got a calendar. So make sure that you're using the notes section there. Really, really powerful tool for you guys. So that's the notes section. The other thing, too, I want to point out here on the notes section is conversion on every single lead. We do what we call conversion data validation. So we'll tell you, hey, what's going on with the, email quality is great, phone number is invalid or missing. That's because I just put in a phone number, so it hasn't validated it yet, but it will, which is pretty cool. You can also see when conversion did some research, it looks like we found a few different profiles. So it looks like this lead lives in Gilbert. They've got a Facebook profile under this name. There we go. You can see he's got a Foursquare profile, Pinterest. So a lot of times it'll pull up multiple social media profiles for you to do research on that lead. But some good information here. Any questions on the note side?
Nope.
All right, beautiful. Next section, and this is the one that I have a lot of fun with on my agents. So as I mentioned, 2 things you need to do with every lead. 1, you need to set up property alerts, and 2, you need to make sure you schedule your next call. And so you can come into conversion and say, okay, I just left a note. I left a voicemail for this lead. Now I need to schedule my next call. So I left voicemail for Chris. He's on vacation in Europe. Call back in September. And then you can tell conversion, hey, I want to call this lead again in September. And I want to give them, let's call them September 12th. Conversion told me the best time to call this lead is between 10 and 11, so I'm going to pick that time. Now this is where it gets fun. If you click on repeat calls, you can tell conversion. So a lot of my agents, when they get a new lead, they'll say, hey, I want to call this lead 10 times over the next 2 weeks. So you can tell conversion, hey, I want to call this lead 10 times over the next 2 weeks. Or maybe you're using conversion to call your past clients. So you can come in here and put a little reminder up and say, hey, I want to call this guy, 2 times over the next year just to see how their new house is and how their dog is doing. So, you can use this and really put conversion on an autopilot. And when you do, the only two things that you have to do are make sure every lead has property alerts, and then every lead has a call scheduled. And if you do that, the only thing that you're going to do is when you log into conversion, you're taking more of the reactive approach. Okay, I got to make a call. And conversion will tell you why you have to call this lead. So I always strongly encourage my agents to really use these features within the system because it's a good way for you to put your life on autopilot. And so if you take a look now, when you do click on one of your calls, you're going to notice conversion makes your life and your job really easy. So it says reason for this call. This lead has never been called. Call them at this number and then click one of the 3 buttons. How easy is that? And so this is just a way for you to really automate your entire life and put your business on autopilot. And so scheduling the calls, just make sure you're doing it for every single lead that you have. And then last 2 tabs, and we'll wrap up with this here for you guys, is you can see correspondence. So you can see all emails and texts that have been sent out. You can see the time and day it was sent. You can see if it was an email versus if it was a text. It'll say the word text on it as well. So you can see all the communications. And then a lot of my agents are curious, hey, what else are you guys sending out to this lead? So it looks like we've got 5 more touches scheduled with this lead. And next email is going to go out on September 10th. This is the email subject line, and this is what the email itself says. So good stuff.
Hey, Chris, I have another question.
Correspondence. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a way to notify, say, all your active clients, let's say Labor Day's coming up or Thanksgiving's coming up? Is there a way for us to have like a holiday email that we want to send out to all of our clients that we can type in what we want it to say, but yet it would be personalized when it goes out to all the agents? Is there a feature like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you take a look here in the quick actions at the top, you're going to see that there's something for mass email.
Okay.
So when you click on mass email, conversion's going to ask you some questions. So this is loading here 1 second. Perfect. So you can say, hey, I want to send out, an email to my entire list, or no, I want to send it out to these specific group of people. So you can send it a mass email, to all your leads, for example. Yep.
And
another way of finding that, another way of seeing this as well is you can just go into your active leads, or maybe you just want to send it to your past clients. Click on active leads, and when you do, scroll to the bottom, and you're going to see that you can email the selected group. And it'll populate the email for you, and then you type in the email the same way that you sent me an email. So.
Okay, I can see it's very Gmail friendly here. Looks like the same Gmail platform. Now let me ask you this. When
Absolutely.
it goes out, so it looks like it goes out as blind copy to everybody. So when they get it, can they reply back to this email and it'll go back to Becky?
Absolutely. Yep. So anyone that does, it'll go back to Becky. Same thing with a text message. Anytime a text goes out, it looks like it comes from Becky, and any response is going to go directly to whoever agent is that sent it.
Okay.
Yep. The other thing too that we automatically do is all of these leads, when you go into that lead profile and you take a look at what conversion has sent them, in the correspondence tab, you're going to be able to see, oh, I sent them a happy Thanksgiving email on this time and this day. So this email that you write in your Gmail is going to actually show up here. Yep. And let us know if when the time does come to do that. I have a lot of agents that are using conversion for that as well. So, but yeah, other than that, that's typically what we like to cover on this initial call, is just really covering some of the basics. So hopefully you guys found this helpful, and some homework I want you guys to do before your next call is just make sure you go into your active lead section and you do a filter, and you make sure that every lead that you have is set up on property alerts. Once you do active leads, I then want you to go to inactive leads and do that exact same thing. sign anyone up for property alerts that doesn't have them set up yet.
Chris, I have another question for you. Chris.
I got an answer.
Okay, great. So today you pretty much covered how the client management system works, but I think one of the key things we need to know is how to bring leads in. You know, the landing pages, the squeeze pages, we have nobody to email. I mean, luckily, Becky has already brought in 37 leads for herself, but for agents who are not familiar with the system, can you briefly show us how they can start bringing in leads so next week when we meet again, they have something in their database to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the active, you know, the leads that you have in the system, you know, you want to make sure that when you do get them, you're getting property alerts set up. But once you do have everyone set up, which I'm hoping by next week you guys will, then we're going to talk about what we call building squeeze pages, and then also something that's relatively new to conversion, and it's called landing pages. And so this is a custom website that Conversion gives you for free, and you can create as many of these as you want. So you can tell Conversion, hey, I want to do a seller lead campaign. I want to generate more seller leads, and for my particular area here in Gilbert. So what we're going to cover next week is just different ways to generate free leads in Conversion. So we've got landing pages, squeeze pages, and then we also have, you know, where you can do blogs. The reason our blogs work is because we send them out to 12 different websites, and we drive traffic back to the site for you. And then also, we have what we call a Craigslist auto poster. And what that means is you come in here and you type in an MLS number, and 10 seconds later, Conversion created a beautiful ad on Craigslist for you. So that's some of the stuff that we're going to cover. But yeah, I always want to make sure you guys are up to speed and every agent has property alerts set up, because I got to teach you guys how to walk before you can run. If you're generating leads and you're not sending them listings, you're wasting your time. So make sure you guys definitely get people set up for property alerts. And then, Rich, do you and I want to schedule another time here as well, or do you want to talk with the agents and get back to me?
No, I actually want to set up a time right now. How about 10 a.m. Monday? You know, just one week from today. That's Memorial Day. Thank you.
Monday's Labor Day. I'll be out of the office Tuesday. Do you want to do 10 a.m. again?
Let's see here. Tuesday, 10 a.m.
Can we log in from West Valley office?
Yeah, you know, I think this time around, Chris, because the link that you sent me was for the 22nd versus today, I think our remote agents never got it this time around. So if we can go Tuesday from 10 a.m., our West Valley agents can link in from the West Valley office versus driving to Gilbert.
Yeah, and what I'll do as well, that was my fault, is